We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
Kris. Kris wanted to help by saying that the Microsoft Edge browser is capable of outputting Dolby Digital audio. So if you're watching Netflix in the web browser, that's your best bet. But then you'd have to use Microsoft Edge, in which case it's not worth it. But that's just me. There's a guy I work with, and I can always tell when he's used my computer because Microsoft Edge has been used. And I'm like, really? You use this thing? You know it defaults to Bing, right? So, I mean, I'm a Chrome guy, but whatever. He also recommended to Rob that since he's forsaking iPhones, he should probably upgrade to a Windows phone along with Austin. I think Austin is a Windows phone guy. You guys could be phone buddies.
I will say, Kris, thank you for the suggestion, but no thanks. When Josh Pollard and Richard Gunther from the Digital Media Zone, who are really heavily into Microsoft, when they have abandoned Windows Phone, because Windows Phone has essentially abandoned the consumer market at this point and just gone into enterprise, there is... I appreciate it, but there is no chance of me getting a Windows Phone. So, that'll be that.
Anyways, lastly, he suggests that if we don't like the way Xbox One handles audio, we should go over to the Xbox Uservoice.com forums and post in the new ideas thread. To which I say, if they're anything like me, they'll never read that forum, so I don't see any point. But maybe they do. I'm sure they do. Whatever, it doesn't make a difference. I'm not going to do it. So.
3 years. People have been posting about it for 3 years.
Fairly certain that we did not invent this complaint.
No.
Okay, let's get to his actual questions. Chris's theater area is 13 feet wide by 17 feet long. There's a window on the left wall that is covered by blackout drapes, and there's an opening on the right side to the kitchen and dining room area. So on the left, there is a window. On the right, there's the kitchen and dining room. His TV is a 65-inch Vizio reference series that is mounted above the fireplace. An interesting feature is that it can output Dolby Atmos via HDMI ARC, or audio return channel, when he's watching movies on VuDu. So he streams VuDu directly to his TV with the VuDu app. The VuDu app has Dolby Atmos metadata, which he can then send down to his receiver via an HDMI cable, the same HDMI cable that sends video up to his TV from his receiver. That's what audio return channel does. He has 5 speakers set up around the room, and he's happy with it. He has 4 ceiling speakers already installed, and he has 2 subwoofers in diagonally opposite corners. Yay.
All sounds good so far.
He's using an Onkyo TX-NR636 receiver to power a 5.2.2 Atmos configuration. Right now he has the 4 ceiling speakers wired as 2 parallel pairs, so they're all playing even though there's only 2 Atmos channels. He chose the TX-NR636 because it was one of the few receivers that actually supports Atmos over HDMI's ARC. He'd like to upgrade to a 5.4.4 setup. So he's looking for 2 more subs and 2 more Atmos channels. But he doesn't want to lose Atmos over ARC, and he doesn't want to spend a ton. So he asks, could he use a second Onkyo receiver that has Zone 2 HDMI output? The idea would be that he would use one receiver to power the front 3 speakers and the top front Atmos speakers, and the second receiver to power the surrounds and top rear Atmos speakers. And he asks, would that work? And if not, what would we recommend? Well, first of all, it ain't going to work.
That's not going to work, unfortunately.
There's no receiver on the planet that will let you just select back and top or anything. You have to have mains. You have to. That is just, you have to have them.
But more than that, if you're using your current receiver, which maxes out at 5.2.2, that's all it understands how to do. It can't go beyond 5.2.2. That means any objects that are in the height layer, any objects that are supposed to be coming from above you, anywhere above you, are all sent to whatever the top 2 speakers you select. So maybe you call them front heights, maybe you call them top fronts, maybe you call them top middles, but all the height effects for that first receiver gets sent to those two speakers. Then if you were to connect a second receiver that is similar, another one that tops out at 5.2.2, it's going to do the same thing, which means all you did was duplicate the sounds.
Which is
right?
what you're
the
already
first
doing
one,
by wiring
that's
these
right.
things in parallel.
That's right. The first one, maybe you called them front heights, but it's playing all the overhead sounds. And then the second one, maybe you called them top middles, but it's again playing all the overhead sounds. So you haven't actually created 5.2.4. You're still at 5.2.2. You're just actually doing exactly what you're doing now. You're running the same sounds out of all four speakers. So unfortunately, the answer is you must, if you want to do this, if you want to go to a 5.4.4 system, you must upgrade to a receiver that can actually do, at a minimum, 9 speaker processing. That is really your only option here.
Yeah. So that's what we recommend, buying a new receiver, because there is no other way to do it, honestly.
Yeah. So it's a little bit tricky because it sounds like he doesn't really want to have an external amplifier. It sounds like he wants to have just, one, or I guess 2 units if he was going to do 2 receivers. But if you want something that has 9 amps all built in, you're either looking at the Denon AVR-X4200W or the Marantz SR6010. Those are the 2 models that could do that from last year. And actually, you can find those for about $1,000 or $1,100 right now because they're clearing them out. Those are the older models. They're getting rid of them. I know that's a lot of money, but that's about the least that you can spend, because even the models that topped out
if he's willing to put 2 receivers in his rack, he's certainly willing to buy something that can process 11, but only has 9 amps, and then buy a 2-channel amp. I can't.
Something that can process 9, but only has 7 amps built in.
Is it what he needs? He needs 9. That's right. Sorry.
Yeah, he needs 9 total maximum.
Right.
So yeah, you could look at the slightly less expensive. So that would be the Marantz SR6010 or the Denon AVR-X4200W. Both of those have 7 amps built in, but they can expand to use 9 speakers. You just have to add an external 2-channel amplifier. So those might be a little bit less expensive. Again, the X4200W or the SR6010. If you're looking at the brand new models that are just coming out, so these would be the Marantz SR6011 and 7011, or the Denon AVR-X4300H or X6300H. All of those are more expensive because they're new and
they're not accessories
more expensive yet. Yeah. So I've given the least expensive options, and you do need something that can process 9.
All right, since the right side of his theater is open.
Sorry, I should mention about the HDMI ARC thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that has been solved. I was reading through the forums. There are people using, particularly like the SR7010 that I mentioned, the AVR X6200W from Denon that I mentioned. There are people using it in your exact setup. They have a Vizio television that can do Dolby Vision, so they're watching VuDu directly through their Vizio television. They're using HDMI ARC, and they are getting Dolby Atmos on those receivers. So I completely understand at the time that you bought your receiver, it was the case that most ARC channels, most audio return channels only accepted 2-channel audio or just vanilla 5.1 Dolby Digital at the most. But the brand new ones and the ones that just came out last year, they're supporting it. You're good to go. They can do Dolby Digital Plus with the Atmos extension. That's what VuDu is sending out.
I forgot about that. All right, since the right side of his theater is open, positioning 4 subwoofers for uniform coverage will be a challenge. He has an attic space over his theater and currently has acoustic ceiling tiles over 8 inches of insulation in his ceiling. Okay, he could build brackets in between the ceiling joists and have ceiling-mounted subwoofers, or is there a one spot within the kitchen where the subwoofer could go, plus the remaining corner of his theater? So which is the better way to go? Dude, if you could put those bad boys in the ceiling, that is totally what I would do.
And he kind of wants to. He's enamored of the idea.
Are you kidding me? This would be like the one time when we could recommend that and somebody would actually do it. Are you kidding me? Totally do that.
And since it's acoustic ceiling tiles, it's not quite the same job as going through drywall and doing all that. This is like, no, you can cut a reasonable sized hole in a ceiling tile. You can attach something to the ceiling joists that are above there. It's a little bit less work than most in-ceiling subwoofers would be.
Yes.
So I'd be fine. I mean, you can do the 4 corners of your theater area. You still have to consider that because you have an opening to the right-hand side, it's not exactly the same as doing 4 corners of the entire open space. But this would certainly work, and it would get all the subwoofers off the floor and
give you more floor space.
Ceiling.
That's right. I don't know that you're going to experience a huge increase in sound quality, uniformity, anything. I don't know. but it would be awesome.
Yep.
I don't know how you're going to brag about it to your friends unless like one falls out and hits them in the head. You go, that's one of my subs, man. It killed you. Sorry. Yeah. So, but it would be awesome. So
Yeah.
I guess I think 2 is probably enough for most theaters. But if you're going to do 4, do 4. If you could put them in the ceiling, holy crap, man, take a lot of pictures. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.